Hello and welcome to the Warcraft the audio commentary. This is game 2 of our best of 3 for the quarterfinals of ZOTAC number 277. First, undead versus orc. We have StFo.Spiral spawning in as the green orc on the left side of the map. This is Echo Isles, and he's going to be going up against CZE. CZE. I don't know exactly if that's a clan or what that. I've always kind of thought that was Czech Republic or something like that, but now that I look at it, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But who knows? So yeah, we have Cechi. I'm going to keep calling Cechi, who is going to be spawning as the light blue undead on the right side of the map. And once again, it is indeed Echo Isles. Now, of course, we're going to see this time from Cechi. He's going to play with a more standard Fiends build, and of course, I call this standard Fiends build. Mainly because, for the longest time, if you were going to play Fiends as an undead player, this is how you played it. And then, of course, once Ted did his little Ted Fiends thing, and everyone was like, hold on a second, what? This is going to be Ted Fiends. And so there's that. Of course, now, prior to this actual build coming out right here, there's a different build, so you could argue, but that's how I classify the build name. So if you ever get confused about what I mean when I say standard Fiends, I mean this build. On Ted Fiends, I mean the one with, of course, the altar, Zig, and then finally the crypt, and then the altar, and then the graveyard, and blah blah blah. So yeah. There we go. Of course, this is going to be Cechi. Probably going to pick up a Death Knight with the Fiend right there. Of course, we have his scout peon over here from Spiral saying, what is he doing? And if he comes over here, scouts this, he might maybe think it's going to be a Lich Tower Rush, but he's probably going to expect it to be a Death Knight. And more to the point, if he really is kind of curious if this is a Lich Tower Rush, he'll just keep this peon wandering about here just until he can see what hero pops out. And of course, if he does that, he's probably going to lose the peon, so he probably won't do that unless he's like in sort of a major concern of that. He's not really super concerned about that, and he could use that instead, to build a shop somewhere. Maybe if he's not already building a shop, he's already got that going up, and you could use it to get wood. So why not just run it back, and just maybe play a little bit more aggressive over here, just in case something happens. Now, of course, we're going to see Cechi going to pull out with his Fiend, going to pull these guys out. And of course, if you actually move that Fiend back here, you don't get ensnared with it. Little cool thing. Of course, you have to move it back towards your necropolis, and he's actually going to be able to pop that out with some perfect timing to get that Ogre Warrior trapped right here. And of course, so why not go ahead and coil it? And that's actually really clever because the Blade Master could have been right there, actually. He could have been, not necessarily very likely, but he absolutely could have been right there trying to get the Jack. And so that was a really, really fast creep by Cechi. And here you can see once he picked up the Rod of Necromancy as well as the Dust. Unfortunately, he does get ensnared on one of these Fiends as a Blade Master pretty much pops out on him. Of course, he's going to go ahead and use a coil on that Crypt Fiend, because why not go ahead and try to keep him up and just do as much damage as you can to his Blade Master. The idea at this point is push the Blade Master away. Yeah, he's got, 5 charges of Healing Salve and a Clarity, but push him out of here, get him to run away and have to heal up, and then take the time while he's healing up to go ahead and finish creeping. Of course, as you can see, don't chase him with your whole army right now. All you have to do is stop him from going ahead and casting that salve. Will we see any of these coils being used aggressively at this point? It's up for debate, because Cechi says, well, I've only got 144 mana and each coil is 75 mana, so I have basically 2 coils. Do I want to use those aggressively? Because I might end up needing them defensively. So that's kind of the question. Or maybe even I could use them to snipe a Blade Master later on. So again, those are sort of the questions that he's asking himself right now when he's wondering about that. Or he might even have some hard and fast rules, like if I'm not getting a kill under 150 mana with my coils, I shouldn't use them aggressively. He could have something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so of course we're going to see Cechi. He's going to go ahead and creep out this green camp. As you can see, he is teching, and of course here comes that Blade Master once again. This time he does get revealed by a Dust, but it looks like the Blade Master was able to pick up that experience right there with the nice little Jack. And of course we're going to see one Blade Master on one Fiend, 2 Grunts on another Fiend, and it's very annoying as the undead player. Of course there's going to be that Blade Master running slightly too close into Nerubian Tower range. Going to take slow, going to start taking a fair amount of damage now, and Spiral is going to take pretty heavy losses, I would say, right here. Of course, as you can see on his HP count, he's not actually losing any units, but it's a lot of damage that he doesn't really want to be taking. Of course, as you can see, generally he wants to be the aggressor here in this situation. Of course, we do have enough mana for another coil, so that Fiend should not go down. And the Blade Master right here. Of course, you can see the whole undead army now just kind of retreating back into their little safe abode back there in the range of the Nerubian Tower. And over here we can see that these Grunts are going to try to come down here and pick up some more experience. Going to be just enough to get level 2 on that Blade Master right there. He will get dusted though, as you can see. And now there's enough mana, just enough, barely enough, for 1 coil left on Cechi's Death Knight. Of course, he did go ahead and coil a very low red HP Fiend right there. Now, meanwhile, there's really, at this point, you can't really just walk out and creep as the undead player. It doesn't really work too well. Of course, you can see there's another Fiend right there in the back of the base. So there's that. Unless maybe you're being really sneaky about it, and that might be what we're seeing Cechi do. You might be trying to run across very, very sneakily. And meanwhile, Spiral is just trying to find him, and we'll see if that actually happens or not. Meanwhile, Cechi might not even be trying to creep. He might just trying to be getting a jack off. We're gonna actually see him go down here and use that coil to pick up a steal on one of those guys. Will he pick up the boots as well from this? Because that might be very, very nice to have boots on your Death Knight. Of course, there's already boots on the Blade Master, so you can't really deny that. It's quite late. Of course, the boots spawn at 1900, which is this little dot right here. We're down at this dot, so obviously it's been a while. But it wouldn't be bad to pick up boots on your Death Knight sometimes when you're chasing grunts, and he maybe could have gotten a kill on this one. Probably not, because he only had a level 1 coil. But it was a possibility. So over here, of course, we're going to see now another dust. It says, oh, the Blade Master is not here. Let me go ahead and pull this creep out here. Bring my fiends over back here in the back a little bit. He doesn't have any skeletons out with him, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful. Pull him quite far out. And you really want to pull him out really far. Your goal here is trying to avoid getting ensnared, just in case you do get jacked. Of course, it's going to happen sometimes, but pull him out nice and far, and that's really your biggest way to prevent getting jacked and completely destroyed by an orc player at this point. Of course, meanwhile, he says Cechi's thinking probably, well, I keep saying what Cechi's thinking. I should say misses me projecting maybe what Cechi's thinking, because I don't really know what he's thinking. I'm just trying to guess here. But I think he's thinking, I believe he is thinking something along the lines of the orc player has to creep and I need to creep as well. So I'm going to be very careful about this. Now, meanwhile, we're going to see that here comes a Shadow Hunter. He sees the Shadow Hunter, says, I need to run away. But also he's like, there's probably a Blade Master here. I do also need to want to pick up that Tome of Intelligence. And he's probably going to have to burn his TP here, or he's going to lose that Death Knight. Looks like he might even just lose the Death Knight. Down goes the Death Knight. Very annoying. If there's a Shadow Hunter at this point, and basically the Shadow Hunter gets to get a kill if he finds your units. If he gets on screen with any of your units, he's getting at least 1 kill most likely, or he's going to force you to TP. And that's just the way it is. There's so much damage output, and there's really no way you can avoid. There's nothing you can really do at tier 2 to deal with that hex. So you have to wait until tier 3 to engage against that kind of army. Of course, with the speed scroll, it's even worse. So there you go. Of course, maybe if he had boots of speed on that Death Knight, maybe he could have gotten away and with a TP after tanking 2 of those hexes. I don't know. It would have been really close. But that's, that's an additional 250 gold, and that's a lot of money you don't ideally want to be spending. Ideally, you'd rather be spending that on, a fiend or a tech or an upgrade or something. Over here, of course, we're going to see now that the Blade Master is going to pick up level 3 with a Creep Jack, also going to pick up a Gloves of Haste that he was able to steal from that Murloc Nightcrawler right here, and he did get dusted. He knows that he can't really do a lot to this sort of bit because there is frost armor right there while he's revealed. But he can go ahead and try to stop or slow down Cechi's creeping. Meanwhile, over here we can see that the Shadow Hunter, the Orc player, he's creeping no problem whatsoever at all. And of course, up here we can see that Spiral is getting some raiders out. He's going for a tier 3 tech, throwing down a War Mill. So there are some ideas right there for what he might do. Of course, meanwhile, we're going to see that Spiral is just going to use that Blade Master to deny as much experience as he can. He says, I know that your Death Knight's going to come out pretty soon. It's about to be out. He's like, and I know you're going to pull out some camps. You're going to be able to get some experience here and there. Sorry. Just, I think I threw up in my mouth a little bit. It's a lovely. I'm just going to drink some water. This is... I don't know what garnered that reaction, but anyway, maybe it was this orc player. He's like, oh, he's gonna steal all of the experience and just walk away. He's very mean-spirited orc here. He doesn't really respect that these are the undead players' creeps. It just disgusts me. Yeah, sorry, getting carried away. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what happened. Spiral just said, I'm gonna take as much experience as I can from you. He's like, I'm gonna slow down your creeping. I'm gonna try to slow down your level 3s. Etc, etc. Now we do have a skeleton right here. I'm not sure. I think maybe that just ended up an accident. I don't think he necessarily wants to keep that there. However, he might be using this as a scout just in case the Shadow Hunter and the Grunt army comes down this way. That's not gonna quite happen. There's gonna be a Blade Master right here. However, he's gonna get the experience stolen for that Forest Troll right there. Up here we can see there's actually still a Sentry Ward from Spiral. We saw that placed a little bit earlier. And meanwhile, of course, we can see that Shadow Hunter is still being creeping away just fine. He's up to level 3 at this point. Do we see any upgrades on the Orc player's units? Not yet, but it's still a pretty good army. Of course, we can look at the food supply counts Spiral is sitting at 49 out of 53, just now going to finish tier 3, picking up a Coda Beast as well to supplement that army. Why not? And he's going to go ahead and use this Blade Master to kill this Murloc Nightcrawler. This could potentially be a Tome of Experience, so he wants to deny that from CZE if he can. And will he get it himself? No, but it will be a Tome of Agility. That's also not a bad item. 2 additional agility is 2 more damage on him. It's about 0.6 armor, as you can see right there. Each 3 points is 1 armor, so essentially that's kind of what it is. And of course, it also allows him to attack a little bit faster. So all around, a great item regardless. Now, meanwhile, looks like CZE actually has quite a beast lich, plus 26, absolutely absurd amount of damage right there. His base minimum is 25, so plus 26 is quite intensive. But he also has, of course, the Orb of Corruption, which reduces armor of the unity attacks by 5. Meanwhile, do we see Destroyer Form on the way? Not quite, but or maybe it's already researched. I didn't quite realize how long ago CZE hit tier 3, because he has a Cryptloid as well, and he's brought a couple of ghouls with him, just because it looks like he's interested in doing some kind of big push here. And of course, if he has Destroyer Form, he should be sitting pretty well. Of course, you can see the Blade Master with the Orb of Lightning. He was really hoping that would purge that statue right there, and that would allow him to force a fight. So, you know, the Blade Master being a very RNG type of character, or RNG is random number generator. Essentially, when I say that, I mean that, you know, you're hoping to get those criticals, you're hoping to get those purges. Basically, with the Blade Master, when you right-click on someone, you're just hoping that something procs. And so, while it may not happen every time, you have to keep giving it a try. Each one attack may very well be your best attack. You know, it may be that purge, it may be that crit you need. So with the Blade Master, it's very important to have strong finesse. You have to say, when I can get those attacks off, I need to make sure that I can make them count. It's kind of like poker, where it's a numbers game. You know, if you're a really good poker player, you might lose in the one hand in the short term, but overall you should be able to beat a player who's worse than you over a long set. So that's basically what the idea is with the Blade Master there. You can use him very, very effectively. Meanwhile, of course, we're going to see CZE is down here creeping out this camp right here, of course, and he's just going to say, this is really much the last camp on my map, or on my side of the map. There's still this creep camp, however. As we saw earlier, the Murloc Nightcrawler, it's already dead right there. The Blade Master did come in and kill it. And Spiral is going to say, well, where is this undead player, or can I take some more of his creeps? And he's like, well, he's probably either going to be down at that orange, or I can creep the orange. And he's bringing his army down here. Now, this is a pretty good army right here from CZE. There's no upgrades on it, however, there might be Destroyer Form, I'm not quite sure. And this is going to be him going ahead, popping in a potion of lesser invulnerability, go ahead and try to kill one of those destroyers, however, I'm sorry, one of those statues, in fact. However, it's not going to quite work out, and he's going to turn into Destroyer Form and get coiled. However, I think that does go ahead and force... Yeah, that one had, oh no, CZE had actually already broken upkeep, so he was just saying, yeah, I'm already ready to break upkeep, and he's ready to do a big push. As you can see, Spiral has used a tiny Great Hall from tier 3 to throw down this expansion right here. It's only been up for a couple of seconds now. As you can see, he's just now starting to mine. He's mined about 100 gold out of that gold mine with those 5 peasants. So it definitely has not begun to pay off for this thing yet. Great Hall, the tiny Great Hall costs around 800 gold. So you want to at least 800 gold, then that's only if you don't need any more wood peons, and what you already had, you can just pull 5. So it just kind of depends. But anyway, so here comes this fight underway in this nice choke, a great position here for CZE. The question is, will that be enough? I don't know. However, he also does have now 1 attack upgrade on his undead air units, undead ranged units, which is also, of course, the air units too. And Spiral's just saying, I could fight you right here. He's like, but I don't really want to, because that would be a really nice choke for you. And so both players are just vying for position. Ideally, CZE wants, you know, Spiral to try to get a commit here and go ahead and take out. So he keeps throwing out the bait, and there it is. Here it comes, the fight. Of course, not going to be the greatest spot right there for an impale, but that's going to be a pretty good one nonetheless. As you can see, getting 4 units, including the Shadow Hunter. These destroyers are going to be able to stay over the trees pretty well, very close to it, so they can go ahead and keep coming in. And as soon as they become the focus target, back off just a little bit. We're going to see an ensnare on one of those destroyers, and that destroyer is going to take a lot of focus fire. Will it get a coil? It looks like it's just going to go down. We can see the Blade Master actually very low on life right now, and he is not in, well, he's invisible, he's not revealed, and now he's going to get a healing wave. Go ahead and start attacking once again. You can see that that statue is going to be his first target down, or his first chosen target. You can see another very nice impale from that Cryptlord, and the Cryptlord is going to get a very good coil right there. Of course, you can see a full HP burrow fiend right there, pretty much burrowed, full on full HP. I think maybe that got burrowed accidentally, but of course, while he was burrowing, this one is very low on life. So here comes out some more units right there. Of course, they're going to be unburrowed. We do still have those 2 Coda Beasts in the back, increasing this Blade Master's damage to plus 20. And now we're going to see the Lich taking a little bit of damage. He's going to get a coil on him as the Blade Master now has been forced to separate away from the rest of the army. And as you can see, he's down to 50 mana. So we might potentially see the Blade Master being a little bit trouble. Oh, he's going to go straight for the Lich. The Lich is going to go down. And will we see the Blade Master also going down? He's going to get cooled. He's going to go down as well. well. Level 4 on the Death Knight right now. Both the Lich and the Blade Master down. That may very well be enough to force Spiral to back off just for a minute here. And indeed, he's just going to back off just like that. As you can see, Spiral with those 2 Kodo Beasts, he's still got one of them speed scrolled. Will he try to go ahead and get into range to go ahead and eat one of those Fiends? It does not look like that's going to be the case. As you can see, more of those Kodo Beasts actually just starting to take some hits. He's trying to buy a little bit more time for that Blade Master to get back into this fight. As you can see, you're going to see one of those, this Destroyer getting fairly low on life right. However, we'll go ahead and tank a coil, and one of these Kodo Beasts is going to drop down, but that will get the Undead. It's slightly out of position to chase that Kodo Beast, and here comes that Blade Master back into the fight. The Blade Master is going to back off a little bit right now, and we're going to see a very good ensnare on that Destroyer. That Destroyer is most likely going to go down. Yes, indeed. Well, if this fight should continue, because there's not enough mana for a coil on that Death Knight just yet, and down goes the Destroyer. Indeed, that's going to be the only hope he had versus Hex. However, there's not enough mana currently on that Shadow Hunter right there to go ahead and cast Hex. However, in this fighting position, it was actually looking fairly poor for Cechi. As you can see, it was simply out of position right there, and when you're out of position like that, there's not really a whole lot that you can do versus an Orc player, even though the Orc player was out of mana as well, but so is Cechi. He didn't have enough mana for a coil, he didn't have his Lich, no orb, not really going to have any focus fire, not really having the better positioning here, and Spiral still had that expansion up. So unfortunately for Cechi, he did go ahead and lose this one. This was game 2, however, so if you'd like to check out game 3, there will be an annotation right here. If you missed game 1, you want to check that one out, you can click right there, and that's the game. So I hope to see you guys in game 3. So hopefully we'll see you there very soon.